Want to know how to leverage culture to build a successful business? Then Butternomics is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butter ATL. And on Butternomics, we go deep with today's most influential entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders to peel back the layers on how they use culture as a driving force in their business. Butternomics will give you what you need to take your game to the next level. Listen to Butternomics on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Gianna Prudenti.
And I'm Jermaine Jackson Gadsden. We're the hosts of Let's Talk Offline from LinkedIn News and iHeart Podcasts.
There's a lot to figure out when you're just starting your career. That's where we come in.
Think of us as your work besties you can turn to for advice.
And if we don't know the answer, we bring in people who do, like negotiation expert Maury Taheri-Pour.
If you start thinking about negotiations as just a conversation, then I think it sort of eases us a little bit.
Listen to Let's Talk Offline on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Jacqueline Thomas, the host of a brand new Black Effect original series, Black Lit, the podcast for diving deep into the rich world of Black literature. Black Lit is for the page turners, for those who listen to audiobooks while running errands or at the end of a busy day. From thought-provoking novels to powerful poetry, we'll explore the stories that shape our culture. Listen to Black Lit on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mental health is now talked about more than ever, which is awesome. I mean, I don't have to tell you that it's a primary focus of On Purpose. But on a day-to-day basis, many people don't know where to turn or which tools can help. Over the past couple of years, I've been working with Calm to make mental wellness accessible and enjoyable, or as I like to say, fun and easy. Calm has all sorts of content to help you reduce anxiety and stress, build mindful habits, improve sleep, and generally feel better in your daily life. So many bite-sized options from the most knowledgeable experts in the world, along with renowned meditation teachers. You can also check out my 7-minute daily series to help you live more mindfully each and every day. Right now, listeners of On Purpose get 40% off a subscription to Calm Premium at calm.com/J. That's CALM.com/JAY for 40% off. Calm your mind, change your life.
The first 7 years of our life, our subconscious is fully downloaded. We operate 95% out of our subconscious, 5% conscious. That's crazy.
Nutritionist, Elissa Goodman.
She's helped thousands of clients resolve their health issues.
Dehydration is really an epidemic right now. When you're dehydrated, nothing works right. It's not about detox and deprivation. It's about just feeding the body and nourishing it. Your body tells you everything.
Hey everyone, I've got some huge news to share with you. In the last 90 days, 79.4% of our audience came from viewers and listeners that are not subscribed to this channel. There's research that shows that if you want to create a habit, make it easy to access. By hitting the subscribe button, you're creating a habit of learning how to be happier, healthier, and more healed. This would also mean the absolute world to me and help us make better, bigger, brighter content for you and the world. Subscribe right now.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
JayShetty.
JayShetty.
The one, the only JayShetty.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the place you come to become happier, healthier, and more healed. Now, I love turning my offline relationships, people I'm a fan of, bringing them onto the show and having the conversations where I'm speaking to a trusted expert. Today's guest is someone that I've followed on social media for a few years now, and anytime I have a question about a new supplement, a vitamin, a product, this is the person that I go to pick her brain to find out what she has to say about it. And considering I trust her so much offline, I thought I'd love to introduce you all to her online. I'm speaking about Elissa Goodman, who's an integrative holistic nutritionist. Elissa had issues with her health for her entire life, from cancer to autoimmune issues and Hashimoto's in her 30s, which inspired her to take control of her own health and the lives of people around the world. Elissa has created her own delivered EG Kitchen Cleanse in LA. Elissa's EG Kitchen Cleanse allows people to have nourishing, vibrant, healing food delivered right to their doorstep. Elissa has been seeing clients for a decade now and is part of the healing journey for thousands of people around the world. If you don't already follow her on social media, you definitely will after this. If you're someone who wants to work on your health, if you're someone who wants to get more connected with your body, and if you're someone who wants to know how to cleanse and detox, this episode is for you. Welcome to the show, Elissa Goodman.
Thank you. What an introduction. That was so beautiful.
Oh, well, I have so much more I could say, but I stuck to the professional introduction. But we obviously have a wonderful personal connection too.
I know. And I love what I do. So it comes easy, as you can imagine. I absolutely am obsessed with helping people get better.
I can see that. I mean, anyone who follows you on social media will see it immediately. Like, it's so radiant, so vibrant, so true to who you are. And I think our audience is really going to find this fascinating because I don't think we've ever had a cleanse expert on the show before. And I wanted to start there. What is a cleanse expert?
I know that's a great question because cleansing gets a bad connotation. I mean, detox, cleanse is all about deprivation, starvation. And I would say that, after I went to school, integrative holistic school, I became a cleanse person for Cafe Gratitude, M Cafe, Erewhon, and I didn't know what it was. But I actually created these cleanses for these restaurants and handheld the cleansers throughout the 5 days or 3 days, however long they were doing it, and found out their ailments, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. One was vegan and one was, macrobiotic from M Cafe. And it was a beautiful thing because I saw in 5 days, people can restore their body, reset their body, get better brain retention, better digestion, just weight loss in 5 days, like crazy. So feel better, energy, mood, all of it. So it was really fascinating. I'm like, there's something to this cleansing. And so I decided that those were a little bit more deprivation, starvation. So I created a cleanse 9 years ago that wasn't about that. There's a lot of food on it. It's very anti-inflammatory and it's giving you a lot of 50 different vegetables in over 5 days. So it's super nurturing, nourishing. And that's what I'm trying to do for people is really introduce them to vegetables and plants and foods that are grown from the earth and taking away the inflammation. So that's what my cleanse is all about.
Why do people need to go on a cleanse?
It's because most people eat unhealthy. They eat way too much processed food. They eat bad seed oils that are out there. We're eating out a lot. We're stressed, so we're not even thinking about what we're eating. We're eating on the run. There's just a lot. There's just the foods out there have chemicals in them and are toxic. So I think that, everybody's not feeling well. They're not energized. Brain fog is huge. Digestive issues are on the rise. Autoimmune issues, like we talked about, cancer, all of it, diabetes. And so they need to be reset. They need to have, someone kind of help guide them. And when you can deliver it to them so they don't have to cook it and don't have to meal prep it, it's the ultimate.
How often do we need to go on a cleanse and how long does it need to be? How does that impact?
That's also a great question because you can do my cleanse weekly. So because it's mostly plant-based, there is a bone broth, but if you're vegan, you can do a vegan broth. But I had a client on there for a year and a half and couldn't get off of it, loved it until she moved to London. So she just it's just really healthy food. So it's really cleansing it's not about, the detox and like deprivation. It's about just feeding the body and nourishing it and giving your microbiome what it needs, the prebiotics, the probiotics, giving the cells what it needs. Plant-based food is, as you know, being what, how you eat, it really absorbs quickly into the system. Animal protein takes a long time to digest. And I do eat some animal protein, but plant-based food goes through the system, absorbs really quickly, and can give you energy really fast.
It's fascinating to me, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us are walking around, as you said, not feeling well, not feeling good, and we start to think that's normal. And I remember feeling that way where I just thought it was normal to get a headache, or I thought it was normal to have calf pain, or I thought it was normal that my gut wasn't healthy. Like I was just like, oh, that's normal. I'm getting older and I'm not even that old. And it's like, you just keep thinking, oh, this is normal. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you almost don't realize how good you can feel. And over the last couple of years, I've changed a lot about my diet, about my sleep, about my well-being routine. And I feel better than I've ever felt, even better than 5-6 years ago when I was younger. And you're someone that I think inspires so many of us in seeing how and I know you're working on a new book too called Pro-Aging Hacks and the ability to stay healthy for longer. Talk to us about the moments in your life. As I was talking about in the introduction, you've gone through so much personal struggle and pain, which has shifted you in this direction. So does that mean before that you didn't eat healthy and that you didn't care? Walk us through that, Elissa Goodman, that we don't know.
Yeah, it was, when I was born with this low white blood cell count. So that was, I'm going to be 64 in 2 weeks. So
congratulations, that's amazing.
That was 60 years ago and no one knew about how to build the immune system. So like fast forward, I was sick all the time. I had 2 parents that were really type A. And as a teenager and a young 20-year-old adult, they were running circles around me. So not only did I physically feel bad, so I was eating a lot of sugar, caffeine, just trying to keep my energy up. But also emotionally, I was a little distraught because I'm like, how are these older, parents running circles around me and I can't even keep up with them? Mentally, it did a number on me. And so I kind of just tried to keep up with everyone and I was living the fast track. I was, that's what I grew up with, making money, being successful, moved from Arizona to New York, worked in the advertising business, was just working around the clock, no sleep, and really eating really poor. Alcohol, entertaining, all of that. And I just felt crappy all the time. And at one point when I met my husband and we got married, I said to him, we're moving west. And basically he was like, New Jersey? Like, no. I go, no, we're going to California. I need sunshine. I need a slower way of life because I grew up in Arizona. And thank God for that. Because when I landed in California and I got this fantastic job with Vogue magazine, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I got all the accumulation of all my stress and not feeling well and eating really poorly was the cancer.
And how old were you then?
I was 32.
Wow.
I know. So I was getting a massage. Like you were saying, I felt crappy all the time. So I didn't know what, feeling good felt like. And I'm sitting there getting a massage with sitting upright. And the masseuse felt a lymph node on my collarbone. And she's like, that's not okay. You're not supposed to have a swollen lymph node there. And so basically, next thing I knew, it was cancer. And I got really lucky. The masseuse was fantastic to find it early. And then I found this doctor who I went to, a radiologist, who sat me down and was staged by that time. And he said, are you happy? Do you love what you do for a living? Do you love your life? Do you love yourself? What's your stress like? What's your sleep like? That was 30 years ago. Doctors still don't say that today, which blows my mind because cancer is on the rise and all of these things. So he made me feel at peace. He goes, we got to get your emotional well-being back in control and get you to a better place, which I did. I dove into all of that. And then I became a vegan and I was really lucky. I was in California and there was Mrs. Gooch's before Whole Foods. So the food, there was a grocery store that was beautiful and organic meats, everything was healthy, farm to table. And then I went and juiced all the time. I juiced every single day and did all the modalities here, yoga, self-help, went to see a therapist and I got my shit together. Thank God. And then I went on to have 2 really healthy girls. But after I did do some radiation, I chose not to do the chemo because of my immune system. And I knew my instincts told me that was going to take me down. So I did half of the radiation. My oncologist fired me because he said, you're not doing what I'm supposed to, what I'm trying to tell you to do. And so I found someone to do half the radiation. And the radiation gave me hypothyroidism, gave me Hashimoto's, celiac, all these other illnesses, anxiety, things that I hadn't had before, insomnia. So I basically, the radiation was awful. But I went on to have the girls. And then 11 and a half years later, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. So It's a crazy time. I mean, I got really healthy for that period after the cancer and for a while. And then I kind of went back into the unhealthy world a bit more. I didn't stay on that track. And so when he got cancer, I realized, oh my God, 2 parents who have cancer, and watching him pass away in a year and a half, that's when I really took it seriously. After he passed away at 45, I'm like, this has to be serious. And that's like basically when I realized, I have to really get healthy because I didn't have any energy. I was like, my stamina was low because life with him was really crazy for a year and a half, in and out of the hospital. So, and I watched him go from a healthy man to a very unhealthy, and pass away of fungal pneumonia. So the cancer didn't get him, it was his immune system. And I followed the protocols of like healthier eating and all those modalities when I was sick, but he didn't do that as much. He really was scared, and that he just did what the doctor said. So it was like a very different story. So thank God, then that's when I took it a step further and I really started getting healthy. And so ever since now, years later, almost 18 years later, I feel better than I did when I was in my 20s.
Wow.
Because of all the modalities.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I can't even begin to imagine what a challenging journey that is personally, and then in a relationship as well. What have you found and what have you discovered as you've been studying? Because I think, a lot of people will say, well, no, I need to get the radiation. I need to do what my doctors are saying. You obviously had a different confidence and an intuition around how you wanted to heal yourself. And I think ultimately it comes down to how people want to heal themselves. What have you found works at different stages? What have you seen across other patients who are struggling with cancer? Like, what have you seen? What have you witnessed and observed?
It's been fascinating, Jay, because I have seen stage 4 cancer heal without using Western modalities. And it really is a mindset, as you're tuned into, it's de-stressing. It's like releasing trauma. It's really getting into your subconscious and rewiring it, is believing in yourself and having the confidence that you can heal from anything. I do believe you can heal from anything almost. So I feel like we got to believe it. And most people don't believe they can. And most people don't believe that they love themselves. They don't admire who they are. They don't love themselves. Their self-esteem is low. So I would say that is the biggest thing. When I ask clients all the time, when they have cancer, do you love yourself? And they're like, ooh, no one's asked me that question. And I'm like, that's something we really got to work on. Do you have peace in your life? Those are the things that totally changed my life. All of those things, finding love, finding peace, not labeling myself a sick kid, because I had labeled myself and all the people around me as a, young adult. I was the sick kid because I was always getting sick. So we label ourselves, when we have trauma in those early years, or we're just not in a good place, growing up, we do label ourselves. And those are the things we've got to rewire. I have found that to be number one. One of my favorite books, Radical Remission, Radical Hope, by Kelly Turner, the Heal documentary, all those things are beautiful in terms of like talking about that. And also just then I would say it comes to the food. Food is medicine, as we know. So people, eating, nourishing, vegetables, plants, foods that are grown from the earth. That's where, from the sunshine, like energy-wise, that's a beautiful thing. I've always been a big juicer for 30 years, and I've been juicing ever since. I've taken some breaks, but I almost can't live without it. And so juicing greens has been like, I think, a lifesaver for me, because I feel like that's my multivitamin.
Hey everyone, it's Jay here. My wife and I have had so much fun creating our own sparkling tea, Junie. And I've got big news for you. It's at Target and we'd love your support. If you can go out, grab a Junie, you'll be adding adaptogens and nootropics into your life with mood-boosting properties aimed at promoting a balanced and happy mind. Through our commitment to our wellness journey and striving to fuel our bodies with the healthiest ingredients, it's been our purpose to make healthy choices accessible for all, which is why Junie is now on shelves at Target. So head to our store locator at drinkjunie.com and find Junie at a Target near you. So let's break this down for people now so that they can practice it. So you've been a juicer for so long. Walk us through how to juice, what to juice, why to juice, and what the benefits are.
I know,
for a beginner.
I know, because there's a lot of like controversy about juicing.
Yes.
It's like all the nutrients are taken out of it, of
Correct.
course,
I'm
right?
hearing that a lot. Yeah,
and the fiber and all of that. But I was a purist, so I would juice and drink it right away. So I feel like, I was able to, and I would do a cold press juice. I wouldn't do heat. So that's also it. The nutrients stay intact with the cold press. So I love that. Nowadays, I'm just throwing them in a blender because I do love the fiber. So that, doesn't take out also the nutrients as fast. And I love having all that fiber. So I think people just don't eat enough vegetables. I'm trying to get clients to eat 8 to 10 cups of vegetables a day. And that is their eyes glaze over. Like, how the hell do I do that? And juicing, you can get 4 to 5 easily, throwing them in. And I do cucumber, celery, lemon, ginger, spinach, super easy things. And sometimes not so expensive. People think it's like very arduous and got to have all those vegetables. And it could be easy. Celery is huge in terms of the minerals. Cucumber is super hydrating, cleansing for the kidneys. Celery cleanses your gut, cleanses your liver. Spinach is full of iron. So ginger is, antibacterial, lemon. They're just beautiful things. And I think it just wakes me up every day. And and also helps skin and digestion and all of that. So I think it's a beautiful way to start the day.
And you're having that first thing in the morning. That's what you have on an empty stomach, right? And you've just done that for years and found that. Yeah, I found that too. I remember when celery juice became, had its wave, which was a few years ago now, I feel. And I remember trying it out, and I've still not found something better than celery juice.
So you just do straight celery juice still?
Generally, well, I'll probably do like celery with a bit of apple in it just to give it a bit of sweetness.
Right.
Just to make it easy to do.
Palatable.
So, yes, exactly. For me to enjoy it. Usually I would just stick to celery in the beginning, but then I was like, okay, I need to enjoy this a little bit. And so a little bit of apple in it would be perfect, but just enough, not too much. And to me, that's been one of my favorite things that has helped my gut heal so much. Right. And I find it to be such a powerful practice. So it resonates.
Well, who brought the celery juice craze on was the medical medium,
yes,
right?
We've had him on the show. Yes.
And years ago, I was working with him as well. And he was the one who really did help me get past my autoimmune issues. So I started the celery juice like 4 or 5 years ago when it all just started. And, I was wondering, why is this celery juice so powerful? And I started clients on it as well. And I realized there was a little bit of a trick to it in terms of it's super hydrating. And I find that hydration is really an epidemic right now. Dehydration is crazy. And celery is full of minerals. And also is great with prebiotics and things like that. But the mineral content in celery is huge. So people are drinking the celery juice wondering how am I feeling so good? But it's hydrating them. So people just don't get up in the morning. And I always say it kind of blows my mind. I say people have to have a mandatory of 2 cups of water, just 16 ounces of water before their coffee or their tea or anything caffeinated. And they're like, well, that's easy, but I don't do it. And then they call me back and go, well, that was life-changing, just 2 cups of water. I'm like, you paid me to tell you to drink 2 cups of water? That's crazy. But the celery juice is the same thing. It's super hydrating. When you're dehydrated, nothing works right. Your adrenals aren't working, your cortisol and your adrenaline are rising. You're not going to the bathroom regularly. Your brain can't work. You think you're hungry. It really is an epidemic. And we have all this beautiful water at our fingertips, but we just don't have minerals.
You know what? I have not actually thought about that. I don't think we've ever heard anyone say that so clearly because it, again, like you said, it sounds so obvious.
Right.
But most of us are not drinking close to enough water.
No.
And like you're saying, the minerals that actually come from the earth-grown vegetables that naturally are filled with it and packed with it.
Yeah, the plants and legumes and complex carbs too. People are kind of anti-carbs when they want to lose weight, but they're full of minerals. And they also calm the central nervous system down.
What are some examples of those?
Those are legumes and beans, and also I'd say some really good rices, quinoa, sweet potatoes, squash, all of those things, wild rice, black rice. Those are beautiful complex carbs, also great for the gut as well. So
yeah. What have you seen about Because what we're really talking about here, like you said, the client that calls you up after doing it and says, I can't believe it worked, and I can't believe I paid you for that, etc. That idea, it seems like, and even for you, like, you went through this terrible experience yourself. The radiation caused more challenges. You go through the tragic loss of a partner, like who's, also suffering from this. And you say that's what woke you up. And I think a lot of us, it's hard to think that a lot of us, and I guess that's why you do what you do, is you don't want people to wait for personal loss in order to get serious about their health and well-being. But I find that as humans, we're so bad at changing our habits, and we're so quick to forget even pain. And I remember this, like not in an close to the extremes that you have had, but I've had different reminders in my health where my body's slowed down or fallen apart, or I've needed a surgery or whatever it may be. And it's so quick, like, a couple of months later, you're eating all the stuff again, and you're just happy that you're back to being normal, and you just let yourself go again. And then again, you get another wake-up call. And for me, I think what really got me serious was last year. I sat down with my doctor, who I've had on the show, Darshan Shah. And when we looked at all my bloods and everything, he said to me, Jay, this is not your fault because your diet seems to be good, but because of your genetic makeup, you're predisposed to diabetes and to cholesterol. And so even though you don't eat fried food and oily food, and you don't eat that much sugar comparatively, you're just more predisposed to it. And when I heard that, I was like, all right, got it. Like, I need to now be serious about my health. And I feel like that was towards the end of last year where I just really got dialed in. But it's almost like a lot of us wait for pain in order to get proactive. And I guess the reason you do what you do is to not let people wait for pain, because that's just so painful and challenging.
Yeah.
What have you learned about habit change when you're working with your clients? What is it that really helps people change? What are some of the hacks? What are some of the habits that have transformed people's lives?
That's so good. I know, because I think since COVID, people are now starting to take their health more serious.
Agreed.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
And also, you're right. Like, the diabetes is on the rise. Like, blood sugar issues are crazy out of control. So, like, when I work with my clients, I would say, like, what you were saying earlier, with Next Health and all of that, is like, I'm now doing blood work with every client I do blood work on. I'm doing really thorough blood work. I'm even doing heavy metals, all the metabolic, thyroid, all the hormones, even if they're young. And I'm seeing such fascinating things. Everybody's blood sugar is too high. It's not pre-diabetic yet, but it's very close. Their thyroid's out of whack. Their insulin levels are too high. Their cortisol is too high. It's wild. They got heavy metals. So they're heading towards health issues. And I feel like that has been the coolest thing lately for me, to be in the last year doing that, because I'm catching these things before they get unhealthy. I know they don't feel good, and they're lethargic, and they're not sleeping well, and they have hormone issues, but there's something behind it if they are eating healthy. Like, there is something physical, like you found. And that has been game changing. Like, to be able to, get their blood sugar under control, to get their thyroid working again, to also get their hormones working better before they even go into menopause, has been huge. So I feel like those things have been life-changing, the blood work stuff, and doing it once a year, amazing. And great for the clients. Like, it's not expensive to do with me. Also, then it's about, really one thing at a time. So like we talked about, like, maybe getting them hydrated the first week. Secondly, maybe getting them eating more plant-based foods. Of course, the sleep is crucial. Like, people aren't sleeping enough. And also getting them sleeping better and helping them sleep better. There's a lot of modalities, in terms of getting healthy, but I don't want to overwhelm them. So I try desperately not to overwhelm them, with giving them too much off the bat. I mean, I am a supplement junkie. I've been like dabbling with supplements since I had cancer. Now it's $1 billion business, and there's too many out there, and there's a lot of crappy supplements out there. So I do feel really lucky that I've dabbled in it a long time, so I know what's good and what isn't. And I had to also deal with it myself. So I take a lot of supplements, and I figure out what works for me and what doesn't. and I muscle test them on myself and all of that. And I try to teach my clients to muscle test the supplements on them.
What's a muscle test?
Okay, so this is fascinating. You have never heard of this?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's called something else.
I feel like I thought at Next Health they do that. Maybe not. But you actually stick a supplement like on your gut, or you can hold it. And actually, it's kind of like Eastern medicine. Either you hold your hand out and somebody pushes your hand down. If you're with somebody, okay, that's muscle testing. How you do it on yourself is you put it on your gut and you stand try to balance yourself and stand upright. And then you say, hey, is this B complex right for me? And then your body moves forward if yes, and back if no. And then you say, should I take one? Should I take two? And your body tells you everything. It's so in tune. We were born with these incredible instincts and we lose touch with them, right? Like we lose touch along the way with all the things that have gone on in our life. And it's the same thing with food, with supplements, with what we need to do to heal ourselves and where we want to be in our lives is all instinctual. So the instincts are huge. So I try to teach them that as well.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like we've become so distrusting of our bodies.
Yeah.
Because we've been told to trust someone or something else. And of course, we do need guides, we need experts, we need doctors, and I'm not discouraging anyone from any of those things. I'm just saying that I think claiming back some of that, in the same way as when you eat something, whether your body is accepting or rejecting it based on how it's feeling. And of course, if your digestion is strong, then it gives you the best sense. Sometimes if your digestion is weak, it may not give you the best marker. But when you're talking about vitamins and supplements, walk us through, in a practical sense, how does someone make a choice? What do they need to read on the back of a box or a bottle with vitamins and supplements? Like, what should they be looking for and what should they be looking at to make sense of it from a technical standpoint, not just the intuition standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because you want to have as least fillers and additives in that supplement as possible.
And what's a filler and an
additive? So
filler
is like something that just fills up the supplement. It's like a, crystalline cellulose is a filler. Not all the supplement is going to be the B complex, but they need other things, to bind the Bs, for you to be able to digest them. So a lot of times, it's expensive to have the supplement be all liposomal C or B or whatever, or vitamin D. So a lot of times they add the additives so that it isn't as costly. So it really is a struggle because a lot of people don't do well with these additives and they don't know that. So microcrystalline cellulose is one that's in a lot of supplements and it gives you digestive issues if you're taking too many. So you could see a lot of people's supplements and they can all have microcrystalline cellulose. I mean, it's wild. So or soy lecithin, or just these additives, just like in foods. It kind of maintains the shelf life of the supplement as well. So it's hard to find supplements without that because they're costly. And a lot of people can't afford that.
Right.
So that's why, I try to go more like with the food and that, lead with the food and then supplements come second.
Right.
But there are some supplements out there that we absolutely do need. Vitamin D is one of them. I mean, since COVID, the studies that have been done on vitamin D, and especially liposomal D, because liposomal is a phospholipid outside of a, supplement and basically is better to absorb, easier to absorb, like liposomal C and liposomal glutathione, all those things. And so basically, D, when you raise your D levels, you can lower your cholesterol. Actually, you raise your D levels, it's better for your immune system. It's better for cognitive function. People don't realize that there's a vitamin D cell receptor in every cell in your body. So, there's that. It's omega-3s. It's, it's magnesium. And like there's certain things out there, B complex for stress.
Want to know how to leverage culture to build a successful business? Then Butternomics is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butter ATL. Over my career, I've built and helped run multiple seven-figure businesses that leverage culture and built successful brands. Now I want to share what I've learned with you. And on Butternomics, we go deep with today's most influential entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders to peel back the layers on how they use culture as the driving force in their business. On every episode, we get the inside scoop on how these leaders tap into culture to build something amazing. From exclusive interviews to business breakdowns, we'll explore the journey of turning passion for culture into business. Whether you're just getting started or an established business owner, Butternomics will give you what you need to take your game to the next level. This is Butternomics. Listen to Butternomics on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, y'all? This is Questlove, and at QLS I get to hang out with my friends, Sugar Steve, Laia, Fontigolo, Unpaid Bill, and we, at Questlove Supreme like to nerd out and do deep dives with musicians and actors and politicians and journalists.
We give you the stories behind all your favorite artists and creatives that you have never heard. I'm talking about stories behind their life journeys and their works of art.
I love QLS because of the QLS Team Supreme. They're like a second family to me.
If you're a fan of deep diving into music, everything, almanacking your musical history, and learning things about hip-hop artists and things you never thought, then you're a lot like me. But you're also a fan of Questlove Supreme.
One of the things I love the most about this show is that we get to learn from the masters. I look at being on this show as my graduate program in music.
Listen to Questlove Supreme on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Suprema! Hi, I'm Essie Cupp, and I've spent the last 20-plus years knee-deep in politics and the news. I've covered some really tough subjects, from war to genocide to 6 presidential elections, way too much Trump. And you know what? I need a break, like a mental health break from the news, from the triggering headlines. And I kind of suspect some of you listening out there might need a break too. So my new podcast is going to be just that, a fun and loose space where I talk to my famous friends and people I admire about all the stuff that consumes us when we're not consumed by politics.
I did not really rebel in the 60s. I had no in the 70s.
What?
I made no money in the 80s. So when true crime came along, I missed that trend too.
So many great guests are joining me, from Josh Mankiewicz to Larry Wilmore to Molly Jong Fast to Josh Gad.
I'm so excited that you have this platform, and I am just hoping that I don't destroy the platform in its earliest stages.
Listen to Off the Cuff on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.
Yeah, one thing I definitely didn't realize until I really got on a good regime of supplements and vitamins was just how much harder I was working to feel good.
Right.
I just thought it was a mental battle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fighting the mental battle every day with meditation and mindfulness and everything else. And then I realized, I was like, actually, I would have been a much better meditator if I just took supplements and vitamins early on, because then your body's actually helping you with that focus and with the physical activity or movement and exercise, right? Whether it's hiking or sport or whatever it may be. And it's so funny now that you're naming all these things, I'm like, I've seen all these things on the backs and never known what that means. And it's so easy to just feel so uneducated. And I've definitely felt that way in this space, without having good people around you. It's so hard to really know whether what you're doing is good for you or not. Walk us through, if we took a random stack of snacks right now, and I don't want to pick on any brands or anything like that in any way, but if you were to teach someone how to read the back of a snack pack, what should they be looking out for? Because this is something that I believe has changed the way I snack. Mm-hmm. And I'd say my diet is maybe, I don't know, at this point, 5% processed or packaged foods in any, if that. Probably when I'm traveling, I'll have a protein bar that I travel with or something like that. But generally it's not. I'm on the whole foods diet and everything else, but it wasn't that way before. I used to think that if I ate healthy snacks, then that was okay. So I would eat packaged goods, and then 50% of my diet was packaged goods, or maybe 30%. Walk us through what we should be looking out for, because I think so much is hidden on these.
Well, it's the same thing as the supplements. There's a laundry list of things on the back of the snack, box or bag or whatever that you don't even recognize, right? It's just, they're certain dyes that are bad for us. And again, going back to the soy lecithin, like soy lecithin is really bad for us.
I see that everywhere. It's so funny. I've pronounced that wrong for my whole life. Now that you've told me.
I love soy, whole soy products, but when it's processed down to that, it's bad. It's like the bad seed oils. That's omega-6s and 9s and like really causing inflammation. So again, if it's a laundry list of things that you don't recognize, like that kind of is a no-go. I mean, let's talk about some of the things we know, like plant milks. They've been huge for years, right? Now thank God, there's better, healthier plant milks out there. They're just almonds and sea salt and water. Like those are the things to look for. Something that's just simple. Even the cheeses, I do love some of the plant-based foods and cheeses and some of the fake meats, but again, they could have a lot of bad stuff in them. So it's like, sometimes you just got to go for the less is more. Even the protein bars too. Every so often it's not bad to have some of these things that do have these, all these things in them, because you're not going to be perfect. But I would say 75% of the time, 80% of the time, to try to look for, those things on the back and just try to do things with less additives, because your system doesn't know how to process it, doesn't know how to digest it. And the more you add these additives into your body, I think more toxic you become. And also the digestive system, like the digestive issues are crazy out of control. Like I created a digestive cleanse because it's been like everybody has digestive issues. Everybody calls me like every time I eat, I get bloated. I can't eat anything now, or I can't go to the bathroom, like the constipation for days on end. Like it's really crazy. Or the other side of it where they're going to the bathroom too much. That's an epidemic, like the hydration.
Yeah. So you're saying when you're looking at, if you're outside, you're looking for snacks and products, it's like less ingredients.
Yep.
Simple ingredients and real ingredients, basically things that you actually know what they are. If you don't know what they are,
right,
that's probably a sign that. And the problem is it doesn't taste as good though.
No, it doesn't.
Like,
Sometimes.
I had a protein bar the other day because I was at Expo and I had a protein bar and I was like, oh, great. Like this literally had 3 ingredients on it. I was so excited to eat it and I tried it and it was so bad compared to the one that I've been programmed to love, which has all the other 30 things that you'd say I shouldn't eat and are not good for me. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, I wish I was trained to believe that whole natural foods were tasty and healthy, whereas because I've been so spoiled by my taste buds have been ruined by all of this other stuff that now feels captivating and exciting and tasty.
Yeah. Most of America has, right? I mean, the sugar in these things, like, there's a lot of sugar in these bars and in these milks and cheeses or whatever it is because things don't taste so great when they are on that simple side. There's a lot of salt, there's a lot of sodium. So to make them taste better.
Walk us through the core needs that people come to you with. So that you said there's a gut cleanse. Walk us through the different cleanses that people need in their life.
So the regular cleanse is really, I'll tell you a little bit about what's on it. There's a detox tonic on it with coconut kefir, which is a probiotic drink.
I love coconut kefir.
I am
good.
a big fan of probiotics and I love coconut kefirs, cocoyo, and there's a lot of great products out there on the market. Then it has chlorophyll, apple cider vinegar, lemon, ginger in there. And then there's my homemade super seed bar. Then you basically get a bone broth or a vegan broth. Our bone broth is really gelatinous, and so there's a lot of collagen, which I love. And then you get different salads for the week, different salad dressings, fermented vegetables. You get different soups for the nighttime, and then you get lattes for the evening. Then you also get digestive enzymes and you get magnesium. So to make sure that everything's working properly. Because people going from an animal protein diet into a plant-based, legumes and beans can disrupt their stomach. And also a lot of vegetables can as well. So there's that one. There's a 3-day
So with that one,
Yes.
walk us through. So are you encouraging people to not have dinners in that? Is that
The
like
soup is dinner.
yes, right.
Or they could have soup for lunch and do the salad for dinner.
Right.
So it's not super strict. A lot of people who exercise a ton will add a little bit of animal protein, to the meal potentially, and it doesn't take you away from the cleanse. So again, you're just getting tons of vegetables, you're getting anti-inflammatory, nourishing, nurturing foods. So that one is like my regular one that has been going on for 9 years. Sometimes it blows my mind because the tonic's been on there for 9 years, the bar's been on there. It's crazy that things are still popular. People buy the tonics and the bars separately. And then the gut cleanse has activated charcoal on there. So
walk us through that.
What activated charcoal? So I love activated charcoal because it lowers bacterial loads in your gut.
Wait, how do you eat activated charcoal? Like,
You take a pill.
Right. Okay.
You can put it in a drink, and you could put it in the detox tonic, or in water or whatever. But it's a pill. It's a very strong pill, and I have found when I had insulin resistant clients who couldn't lose weight, weight resistant clients, their insulin was high, their gut bacteria was too high. So I would put them on 5 days of activated charcoal and lower their insulin levels, which was fantastic. So that's how the gut cleanse came about. So they get activated charcoal, they still get the enzymes, they get the magnesium, but they get chia pudding, they get sauerkraut, they still get the detox tonic. They don't get the bar because a little too much sugar. I don't want sugar for them because of the bacteria. And then they get everything else that's pretty similar. And the nighttime is a Tulsi tea. That holy basil is one of my favorites. It's anti-inflammatory and great for the gut, great for sleep. So that's the other cleanse that I love. And so what I'm trying to do for people is really clean them out. Those clients are the ones that have a little bit of constipation issues, aren't going to the bathroom regularly. And they're, by the end of the week, they're going 2 and 3 times a day.
Wow.
That's another crazy thing. Because
Just
people go
in 5 days,
once a day. That's considered constipated these days. It's crazy. So
walk us through that, because that's always an uncomfortable topic for people.
I know.
It's something that people don't talk about. But I mean, I don't think we're getting to the point of understanding how important the digestive system is.
Yeah.
And how often should be people going to the restroom? What should be the healthy way of going about that area of their life?
Well, once a day is good. Twice is great. 3 is perfect. So we really, because we don't get enough fiber, because we don't get enough hydration, because we're stressed, because when we're stressed, our digestive system completely shuts down. We are not being able to digest our food. So also we're eating a lot of animal protein. So it takes, 14 hours to get through the small intestine, cow and animal protein, and 90 minutes for plant-based food, which is crazy. So
say that difference again?
So for plant-based food, it takes 90 minutes to get through the small intestine. For cow and animal protein, it takes 14 hours. So we're eating eggs for breakfast and chicken for lunch and salmon for dinner. So we're just not that it's bad for you, but we're not getting hydration. We're not getting fiber. We're stressed.
If you're not doing all the other things.
We're not doing the other things. We're not sleeping. Sleeping is very detoxifying and helping us with our digestive system. So, so we're supposed to be kind of like an animal and going after every meal. And people are a little bit oh, please don't tell me that.
Yeah, wow.
I know.
It's interesting how interconnected it all is, though. You talked about hydration earlier. We're talking about the gut now. It's fascinating because it's almost even for me, I was talking to a friend about it this morning, and we were just talking about how we're okay, we want to get proteins, but then if I'm eating this, because as a plant-based person, to get proteins harder, it's also that way around, right? So you're trying to get enough protein in your diet, but then it's well, maybe that particular item doesn't sit well with my gut and doesn't make me feel good. And so you're also finding that as well, right? It's not as simple as well, this is really great for everyone.
Right.
It's so individual.
Yeah. It's not a one size fits all. Right. And I do believe in, if you're vegan, I can help someone get enough protein or vegetarian or, animal protein. For me, I grew up eating animal protein. So I feel like I need that. And I feel like as I've aged, I feel like I need more amino acids. But sometimes certain animal proteins don't agree with me. So I do take digestive enzymes before I eat animal protein so I can digest it. So,
what form do you take your digestive enzymes?
I love this Enzymatica Digest Gold. AT Pro is one of my favorites. It's on the cleanse. But you can also get it from apple cider vinegar. You could also get it from bitter greens like dandelion greens, arugula, endive, radicchio. So sometimes I'll just take a handful of arugula before I eat a meal. It's really crazy, and it'll wake up your enzymes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Or after a meal, if you kind of have a digestive issue, you could take some arugula and eat it. I know it sounds very strange, or have some apple cider vinegar, or take an enzyme after the meal. It doesn't have to be before the meal. So there are a lot of tricks that people sometimes don't know because digestion can be an issue. And I also don't overdo the animal protein. Like I'm not having like 8 to 10 to 12 ounces of something. I'm having like 3 to 4 ounces. So that's like, 30, 40 grams of protein. So I feel like nowadays protein is the hot topic. Like, some people feel like you need to get a gram per body weight, but I'm really someone who feels like, 70, 75 grams for women is great. So that's kind of easy to do.
And of course it impacts based on your workouts.
Exactly.
And everything else that are going on.
Yeah. And hoping that you do digest, what you're eating.
Yeah.
That's important.
I've found that adding protein to my diet felt heavy on my digestion, but actually it's now led to better digestion. But it took this like transition point where I was like, God, that's really heavy. Like it's harder to digest in the beginning.
Yeah.
Even though it should be helping me.
Right.
But then I feel like it's just staying committed to it. My digestion's got used to it. Is that natural? Do you find that?
That's the same with legumes and beans because
Right.
people will go on the cleanse and be like, I can't eat legumes and beans.
Right.
They're not used to that because they're animal protein eaters. And most of us have been animal protein eaters. I feel like most people I talk to, they just don't, they feel like beans and legumes are gassy and are hard to digest. But the more you eat them, the easier they are in the system.
Right.
Yeah, your digestive system gets, used to it.
Yeah.
Right. It is kind of wild.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making when it comes to their health and well-being that you've kind of noticed as trends over the years that these seem to just be the things that trip people up?
Hey, I'm Gianna Prudenti.
And I'm Jamae Jackson Gadsden. We're the hosts of Let's Talk Offline, a new podcast from LinkedIn News and iHeart Podcasts.
When you're just starting out in your career, you have a lot of questions. Like, how do I speak up when I'm feeling overwhelmed?
Or, can I negotiate a higher salary if this is my first real job? Girl, yes.
Each week, we answer your unfiltered work questions.
Think of us as your work besties you can turn to for advice.
And if we don't know the answer, we bring in experts who do, like resume specialist Morgan Sanner.
The only difference between the person who doesn't get the job and the person who gets the job is usually who applies.
Yeah, I think a lot about that quote. What is it? Like you miss 100% of the shots you never take?
Yeah, rejection is scary, but it's better than you rejecting yourself.
Together, we'll share what it really takes to thrive in the early years of your career.
Without sacrificing your sanity or sleep.
Listen to Let's Talk Offline on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Jack Beast Thomas, the host of a brand new Black Effect original series, Black Lit, the podcast for diving deep into the rich world of Black literature. I'm Jack Beast Thomas, and I'm inviting you to join me and a vibrant community of literary enthusiasts dedicated to protecting and celebrating our stories. Black Lit is for the page turners, for those who listen to audiobooks while commuting or running errands, for those who find themselves seeking solace, wisdom, and refuge between the chapters. From thought-provoking novels to powerful poetry, we'll explore the stories that shape our culture. Together, we'll dissect classics and contemporary works while uncovering the stories of the brilliant writers behind them. Black Lit is here to amplify the voices of Black writers and to bring their words to life. Listen to Black Lit on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When you find that bright spot to help you get through your day, it's powerful. That's where The Bright Side comes in, a new daily podcast from Hello Sunshine that's bringing you a daily dose of joy. I'm Danielle Robay.
And I'm Simone Boyce. Listen, both Danielle and I are reporters. We've covered the news and we know the world can feel heavy. But the Bright Side podcast is a space to have a little fun, to learn something new, and get into some friendly debates.
That's right. Join us 5 days a week to see how life can look from the bright side. We'll hear from celebrities, authors, experts, and listeners like you.
Whether it's relationships, friend advice, or figuring out how to navigate life's transitions, we'll talk through it all together.
Listen to The Bright Side from Hello Sunshine every weekday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
That's such a great question because there's so many. But I would say, a lot of people are over supplementing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they are like on social media, TikTok or Instagram, and they're seeing all these influencers who are great at what they do, but they're promoting all these different products and they have no idea if that product is right for them. So they're buying it. So I'll like see cupboards and like suitcases of people who have all these supplements and they're taking them and they don't feel good. They're not really making them feel better. But the person who's promoting it said this is gonna change your life.
Right.
So that's huge. Also, like what's also hard is basically like following the prototype, like gluten-free, or not everybody needs to be gluten-free or like dairy-free or all of those things. So, or they're not gluten-free. The other side of it, they're just not like eating like they're not taking gluten out of the diet because it's inflammatory or dairy or sugar. Sugar is a huge one. So people really feel that sugar, they can have a little sugar. Some people can't. So I think food-wise, it's like there's so many misconceptions of what they should or shouldn't be doing. If they should be gluten-free or not, or dairy-free, or maybe like, could they have some sugar or not? Just, it depends on like what their blood sugar is, what their gut is happening. I'm seeing a lot of that, the supplements. I also see that people are over-exercising.
Wow.
Too. Like they're like doing Barry's boot camp and spin classes and their cortisol and adrenaline is so high and they're so stressed and their adrenals are fatigued and it's just making them more tired.
That's why you have to be observing the 360 and that's what's so hard about it because you could look great.
Right.
And then still feel terrible and be super stressed out because it's kind of like, we were having this conversation offline, which last night I played pickleball for 2 hours. It was super physical. I think everyone's fitness trackers said that we burnt like 1,100 calories last night playing for 2 hours. But I came back and my body temperature was really high. And so when I got into bed, and as I was telling you, my AC unit wasn't working, so I couldn't lower the temperature in the bedroom, and my house gets quite hot. So I had a high body temperature, and the temperature of the room was probably like 78, which is super high. And so then now it was so hard for me to sleep. And I remember while I was struggling to sleep, I just started researching body temperature and why it was hard to sleep and all the rest of it. And that's all it was saying. And I was thinking, this is so interesting because I could be thinking, oh, it's because I'm stressed about something or I've got loads on. And it's like, well, no, it's just body temperature and the temperature of my room.
Right.
And it's challenging because I think that, food is such a source of joy. It's such a source of excitement for so many people. And yet now when you start really getting into it, it can become such a source of stress and such a source of pressure. Like, oh my God, I'm eating too much of this. I'm eating too little of this. Like, oh no, I didn't meal prep this week. And oh no, now like I didn't get it. Oh, I forgot to take my vitamins. Like, I think we're so stressed about being healthy. How have you made sense of that? Because I can find when I'm having this conversation, there's a part of me, I've been through the ups and downs of that, where I've been like, God, I hate dealing with my health, right? Yeah. Because it's so stressful. And now I'm in a better place with it. But that's taken a long time to even recognize that healing journey of realizing I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I believe in myself. I'm doing this because I love my body. I love my heart. I love myself, which is why I get to do this. But that has taken a long time even for me. So walk us through how people can balance that stress to be healthy when it should be making us less stressed.
I know. That's another good one. It's just like this over supplementing and like, you walk into Erewhon and you like talk about stress. There's all this, healthy, beautiful food and you don't know what to choose, right? It's like, oh my God, like there's so much out there. It's just overwhelm. And I feel like, you've just got to get back in tune with yourself and you can't overdo anything. I think you got to go back to the basics. You just got to go back to eating real food. Try to do that. You've got to, if the supplements are disturbing you, just do less. Just do the basics of what you need. Multivitamin, vitamin D, magnesium, just simple things. You've got to hydrate, you got to sleep. Like, just like you can't like get all worked up over these things because you're right. You're not going to do them. You're just like not going to do them. Like I find people just being like, this is way too much. You want it to be simple. You want them to feel better. You want them to see results. So less is more. And I feel like, we have become a society where we're doing way too much and we got to pull back. We got to believe in ourselves. I think, with the meditation, like I'm a huge meditator and that's so helpful for me because I'm a type A personality and I'm always like, go, go, go. And I got to get shit done. But when I pull back and I meditate and I do yoga and I chill out, like then my mind tells me what I need. Because I could do that too. I can over supplement. I can, be really like uptight about, wow, I went to this restaurant and they didn't have gluten-free pizza or, or wild salmon. I remember ordering that stuff and my whole family would be like, oh my God, we can't eat with you because you're such a pain in the ass. But now I'm just like, okay, who cares, But you do have to kind of like get back in touch with and reconnect your mind with your body and be like, okay, what works for me? I can't like, you can't go crazy about this stuff.
How have you allowed yourself to fall in love with yourself and your body and your heart and your mind again and again and again when the body gets older, it changes, it transitions, it shifts? Like what has been like your inner practice to keep that?
Do you
I'm asking really deeply.
Really deep?
I'm
okay,
asking, I'm asking a deep question.
Yeah, this is fascinating. But when I did figure it out, like at 58 years old, I did plant medicine. So I did psilocybin and Journey, and I really did see what my subconscious was doing to me. My subconscious was still labeling me a sick kid, always fearful. I was looking over my shoulder that another illness was going to come along the way. I was never going to be healthy. I didn't even know what calm or self-love felt like, so that really, I saw what I was doing to myself. And I also felt a sense of peace and calm with that. So once I was able to release all of those, subconscious feelings that weren't working for me anymore, I grabbed onto the ones that I was like, okay, I want that calm. I want that self-love more. And that's what really got me in touch with it. And then that's when I meditate, I can go back to that place where I was when I did some plant medicine to get me past that hump. I had done a lot of therapy. I'd done a lot of Reiki, a lot of meditation, a lot of energy healing, crystals, all the stuff. But that was really the place that put me over the edge to really get me to a place where I could recapture, and really find that calmness and happiness. And like, that's felt so incredible, that feeling. So I journal a ton. I do have to journal and talk about what frustrates me during the day to let go of it. And then I talk about what I'm grateful for. That's huge. The meditation's huge. The yoga's huge. Just like also getting out in nature is absolutely huge. I mean, we haven't talked about this at all, but, and you probably do this, getting out in morning sun is a practice that is just incredible. Like it boosts your mood. It actually helps with depression. It helps with the immune system. It helps lower blood sugar and blood pressure. And it's like a beautiful way to start your day. The sun is so incredible. So those are, and then I just feel like so hopeful because The sun comes up every day, right? It goes down, it comes up. It's like, okay, everything's going to be okay.
I want to go back to the plant medicine point because
okay,
I love hearing that, and I want to dive into that with you.
I didn't know if that was something I could talk about on the show.
100%. Of course it is.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't know what a plant medicine journey looks like, like walk us through what that journey looks like.
So it is psilocybin mushrooms, and I've done ayahuasca, psilocybin, bunch of plant medicine, and I did it with a shaman, a one-on-one, which was beautiful because I recommend that because there's a lot of things you want to manifest and like let go of.
Where did you go to do this?
I did it at home actually. With the shaman came to me, and so it was a friend of mine, and there was just a lot of stuff I was dealing with and some insomnia at the time. And so he came and we kind of manifested what I wanted to release. And when I was on the journey with the mushrooms, he would talk to me and say, hey, how are you feeling? What do you think of this? When you were sick or when you had cancer or your husband died. I mean, and I was like, wow, that was a really difficult time that I haven't let go of. Those thought patterns and the fear, I haven't let go of that. So he was like, okay, what does it feel like if you were to let go of that? And I'm like, can I let go of that? Is that like possible? And he's like, absolutely. You can get to the other side of this because, the first 7 years of our life, our subconscious is fully downloaded. And then, those thought patterns keep repeating themselves in our subconscious. And we operate 95% out of our subconscious, which always blows my mind, Jay, because 5% conscious, that's crazy. So, I mean, that's what it did. He would write down, things I said and just how I was able to release them. And once I was able to release them, Jay, they didn't come back. Like, it was like the things that came back was the feeling of the peace and the love and like not wanting to beat myself up. And like be hard on myself and I was a perfectionist too. That was part of the protocol. I think that got me sick. And so that perfectionism, somewhat left me, probably not 100%, but a lot of it did.
You're taking the plant medicine.
Yes.
Someone's guiding you almost like in a therapy session, a coaching session, guiding you through questions and helping you become aware of where some of these blocks may be, where some of these challenges may be. I'm breaking it down for everyone who may be unaware. And then what does releasing in that session look like? Like what is that? Is that a feeling? Is it a visualization? Is it you trying to let go? Like what does that look like in the session? And then we'll talk about after.
Yeah, that's a good question too. Because it could be it's a purging. It's, you could hysterically cry because it's like, it's emotion that you've hung on to for many, many years and, repeated these thought patterns. So it could be crying, it could be screaming, it could be, just like this feeling of, wow, I can't believe I've done this to myself. And I would say that, it's more like just the feeling of sadness. And the crying and the like some maybe yelling like, God damn, I can't believe, like, how was I so hard on myself? Like, I don't need to be that hard on myself. I didn't need to do that to myself. So it was like, and then he's amazing. He was there to like hold me and support me and just really like, add just love and help me breathe through it. And once you kind of like are able to be like, okay, I don't want that anymore in my life. And then you breathe through it and you're able to, breath work is like, I'm sure you've done breath work, is incredible. You can actually, in breath work, you can feel like you're on plant medicine a lot of times. So, breathing through it and releasing it through breath work is a beautiful thing. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. And are you feeling or seeing?
Both. You could see yourself in a distance, like what you do to, it's almost like another, you're looking at yourself. Yeah, you're feeling it and you're seeing yourself in a distance, how you're reacting and interacting. And even if you're interacting with other people, even people in your family or things that have gone on, you can actually see it. It's kind of wild.
Wow.
I know it's not for everybody.
No, for sure. I've known many clients who've worked with it and found it to be useful as well. I think it's important to share because I want to ask, when you come out of it, like when the session is over, how much have you found that you're able to, what are you holding on to? What do you take with you? And what still stays the same?
Mm-hmm.
Because as we know, it's, no change is ever miraculous or immediate. So what do you take with you and what still exists and is a process?
That's beautiful too, because what I took with me was that sense of calm and like self-love and what I wanted to have more in my life. But I did also take away, the part of how much I was beating myself up and, how hard I was on myself and what I had and why I think I had gotten all these illnesses and why I had gotten the cancer and just why I was at the place I was in my life where I wasn't getting what I really wanted ultimately, whether it also was with relationships or, intimately, like all those things were really important to me to find. And, there was blockages. So I realized like it was really cool to be able to journal about those blockages later. Like, oh my God, I want to release that. And I kind of had to do that. And I still have to do that. It's not a miracle cure. I still in my life have to be like, okay, I need to release, that thought pattern. I still kind of walk around a little bit with it, but not to the same extent. When I did the journey, I was unconscious about it. Now I'm conscious. That's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. It's that awareness.
Right.
Of, where something came from.
Yeah.
What was it for you, if you don't mind sharing? What was it that you found when you asked, like, that's why I believe I'm going to get sick again? Or that's why I got sick in the first place? Where was that coming from?
That was coming from like growing up, because when I was sick all the time and my mom, labeled me a sick kid, and she would always be like, there she is again, sick, like, well, we got to be really sensitive with her because, she might get sick. And so I kind of just, followed that, what she said. And that's really where it came from. It was those early years of always being, not feeling well.
Get emotional with me, Radhi Devlukia, in my new podcast, A Really Good Cry. We're going to talk about and go through all the things that are sometimes difficult to process alone. We're going to go over how to regulate your emotions, diving deep into holistic personal development, and just building your mindset to have a happier, healthier life. We're going to be talking with some of my best friends.
I didn't know we were going to go there on this.
People that I admire.
When we say listen to your body, really tune into what's going on.
Authors of books that have changed my life.
Now you're talking about sympathy, which is different than empathy, right?
And basically have conversations that can help us get through this crazy thing we call life.
I already believe in myself. I already see myself. And so when people give me an opportunity, I'm just like, oh, great, you see me too.
We'll laugh together, we'll cry together, and find a way through all of our emotions. Never forget, it's okay to cry as long as you make it a really good one. Listen to A Really Good Cry with Radhi Devlukia on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Overcomfort Podcast with Jenica Lopez. Yup, that's me. You may know my late mom, Jenny Rivera, my queen. She's been my guiding light as I bring you a new season of Overcomfort Podcast. This season, I'll continue to discover and encourage you and me to get out of our comfort zones and choose our calling. Join me as I dive into conversations that will inspire you, challenge you, and bring you healing. We're on this journey together. I'm opening up about my life and telling my story in my own words. Yes, you'll hear it from me first before the cheeseman lands on your social media feed. If you thought you knew everything, guess again. So I took another test with Ancestry, and it told me a lot about who I am. And it led me to my biological father. And everyone here, my friends laugh, but I'm Puerto Rican. Listen to the Overcomfort Podcast with Jenica Lopez as part of My Cultura Podcast Network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Across Generations, where the voices of Black women unite in powerful conversations. I'm your host, Tiffany Cross. I want you all to join me and be a part of sisterhood, friendship, wisdom, and laughter. In every episode, we gather a seasoned elder.
But even with a child, there's no such thing as the wrong thing if you love them.
Myself as the middle generation. I don't feel like I have to get married at this big age in life, but it is a desire I have and something that I've navigated in dating. and a vibrant young soul for engaging intergenerational conversations.
I'm very jealous of your generation that didn't have to deal with Instagram and Tinder.
This is Across Generations, where Black women's voices unite, and together, you know how we do, we create magic. Listen to Across Generations podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you're saying that also helps you then deal with challenges that come today.
Yeah.
Like that awareness helps you make sense of different things that come up now.
And also with my clients, not only for myself, it's changed my life completely, but my clients, I can see that happening for them, because I've been through all these health issues and because I was, in this subconscious thoughts of these repeated messages that weren't working for me. We talk about that. I'm like, okay, what is going on with you that's blocking you? Because there's something blocking you from getting healthy or wanting to heal, or a lot of the cancer ones, we talk about those things. And also, they're also like, no one's asked me that. No one's asked me what my blockages are, or, what's going on with me. Like, did anything happen in those first 7 early years of your life that maybe was traumatic? Jay, all of them had like death, divorce, or someone was mean to them, they didn't, and then they lost trust and faith in the universe, sort of, I know it's a little woo-woo, but they lost faith in that they didn't have what's in them to be able to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been a beautiful thing for me working with clients and helping them heal. I'm not trained to get them past it. Someone like you can get them past it to some degree. But it's like that work of, diving into the subconscious. And I work with a hypnotist that's beautiful and some energy healers that are wonderful too. And I'll send them to them as well if they need to do the extra work, and most of them do.
What do you find those modalities support? And by the way, I agree. What we're really talking about today, and I encourage people to follow their own intuition and guide as to what speaks to them, because it's almost like as you grow and learn more, you realize how much there is still to explore and how everyone's so different, and everyone needs a different way to become aware and a different way to become conscious. Like I found a lot of my personal awakening and consciousness in meditation and being with my teachers and listening for hours and study and practice. And then I meet people who needed a, moment of revelation through plant medicine, or I meet people who found it another way. And I just realized everyone is so different, and everyone's trauma is so different, and everyone's healing journey looks so different that we can't close the door on any of these modalities, because, and I always say that, sometimes people ask me, would you be open to this? And I'm like, if I needed something, if I was trying to unblock something, I'd be open to anything, because I should be. Why should I close off from any opportunity for healing that I need, just because it may not be as common or as marketed or whatever the right word is. But for you, I guess the question I was asking is, when we're talking about this 360-degree approach, when you talked about hypnotism, and what was the other modality you just mentioned?
Just energy healing.
Energy healing. So specifically with hypnotism, where does that modality play into everything we've talked about today? Because again, I think it sounds so mysterious and maybe, like you said, woo-woo, but what is the point of that modality is, I guess, the question I'm asking.
So I feel like some hypnotists that are really good are able to tap into your subconscious as well. So a little bit like therapy, but it goes much deeper than talk therapy. The hypnotist that I work with, she's able, I'll talk to her about something that is bothering me or I can't sleep about. And she's like, oh, this is what's at the root of your issue. And I'm like, how did you know that? She can dive in and see this is what's bothering you. So that's what I find is really helpful. And then she'll do a meditation specifically for me. So I've had tremendous amount of clients go to her or to a hypnotist that's really good who don't eat healthy, who don't exercise, who don't sleep well. So then they'll go and she's able to get them to sleep well she's able to find out what is causing them not to sleep well, and she's able to get them to eat healthy. Like, it's kind of crazy. They'll wake up the next day and automatically start thinking about eating healthy. Now, I have to tell you that this doesn't last. So you have to listen to her meditations again, or see her again, or, again, it's like a practice.
Well, because basically what you're saying here is that every decision, thought, choice we make is simply a programming of our subconscious. And we've created a subconscious pattern since we were born that has led us to where we are now. And if we don't like where we are and we want to shift it, we have to reprogram our subconscious mind. And that requires understanding your thoughts, self-awareness, journaling, meditating, reflection, and then if you need it, plant medicine, hypnotism, just the plethora of options there. Because I think what we